As I sat at my desk, I heard the telephone ring and reached for it. I heard a gentleman's voice. It was the husband of a woman in her early 40s who had been diagnosed with breast cancer. She had also learned that she had a mutation in a gene that predisposes to breast and other cancers that can affect one throughout the entire life spectrum. The man and his wife wanted genetic testing for their 4 children, who ranged from elementary age to older teens. As I looked for an appointment in the schedule, the father asked if we could test the kids without their knowing, even his teenagers. He didn't want to worry them unnecessarily. The kids didn't know their mother's genetic status. I was flabbergasted. I couldn't fathom testing these children without their knowing, especially the older teens who I knew would have questions and should really consent to testing. I wanted the kids to understand what they were being tested for and how we could help them long term. I just couldn't test them without their knowing. I remember sitting in the waiting room of Sloan Kettering Hospital in New York City. I was 6 years old. I had my new doll with me, and my brother sat by my side. My parents were upstairs with my Aunt Doris, who had ovarian cancer. She passed away not too long after that visit. She was only 33. Throughout my childhood and young adulthood, my grandparents called me Doris. It drove me crazy. For years, I worried if I'd have the same outcome. Would I die of ovarian cancer? Every ache and pain. Was that ovarian cancer? As an adult, my grandmother developed breast cancer. My grandfather had leukemia. My father died of non-small cell lung cancer. What would be my fate? When I was 35, I finally decided to have genetic testing. After all, I now had 2 sons. I took the plunge and had testing to see if I harbored one of the 3 known Ashkenazi Jewish, BRCA1 and BRCA2 gene mutations. Negative. We tried whole gene sequencing. Negative. I didn't have the mutation in either of the genes. But 9 months later, I was diagnosed with invasive breast cancer. Falsely reassured. Years later, advancements in science allowed for more extensive genetic testing. Negative. No answer, no explanation. What would be my fate and that of my boys? Over the years, I've gotten lots of questions from my sons about my experience, my diagnosis, treatment, and genetics. They know the ins and outs of my job, a genetic counselor specializing in oncology. I've tried to be as honest as possible and answer their questions the best I can. For some questions, I just don't have the answers. What should they be doing health-wise that they are not? What will happen to them? What will be their fate? Back in my office, I told the father that we need to see the kids before testing them. I offered him an appointment, and he said he'd discuss this with his wife. I never heard back from him regarding that appointment. But my colleagues who work in an outreach location contacted me about a parent who wanted to test their children for a cancer predisposition without their knowing and didn't know what to do. I encouraged the team to meet with the parents to talk about the wife's diagnosis and their concerns for their children. After negotiations regarding what could be discussed with the children, the kids were seen and tested. All of them tested positive. They've been followed in our surveillance clinic and successfully treated for cancer before becoming symptomatic.